Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is a handover of a Swift Tiki Sport 596. So as we start the walk round on the driver's side of the vehicle first, the first point you get to is your mains connection point. So this is where you took the motorhomes up with mains power. So if you are at home and you are pre-charging the van before you've done your trip, or if you are on a site, all you need to do is lift the collar and hook the vehicle up here. Hook the motorhome up first, then the site, and do it in reverse order when unhooking the vehicle. You've also got a connection, so it's an F-type connection. So if your aerial on the van isn't working efficiently on that site, what you can do is, if you're on a super site and they offer TV reception, get a length of coax, connect it here and connect and use their aerial on site. But you may use that, sometimes you may never use it, but that's just up there out the way. Underneath, you've got your freshwater drain off point. So this is where you drain your fresh water off. Should you have taken on contaminated water, you drain it down for the winter, where you want to leave no water within the motorhome so that there's no chance that any water can freeze and cause any damage. This is where your fresh would drain off from, and it's electronic dumps through the control panel on board the motorhome, which I'll show you when we do the control panel. But to fill your water, so you need to go and buy yourself a hose pipe and some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site. This is your freshwater filling point, and then you'd use lockable cap, pop the hose in there, wait until it either overflows or until you're happy there is enough water on board the motorhome, which you can see on the main control panel. And then, should you not be able to get a hose pipe to the van, but you can get a barrel of water to the van, buy yourself a wheel submersible pump. There's two pins there for the pump, one flat end in there, and put the pump in the water and it'll suck the water out of the container into the motorhome. Using your flip key, we've got this storage locker here, which is your wet locker, so you can put all your external shower hose in there. As you see, you've got a barbecue connection point in there, hooker bleeds, leveling ramps, anything that you don't want in the van to cause any damage or if they're dirty, put them in here, and then that just locks with this key. Here you've got your outdoor shower, so it's a cold water fed shower. Obviously the point was in there, so connector in there, trigger gun on the other end. Make sure the pump's on and you'll be able to hose the boots, the bikes, the dogs off. And then underneath you've got your cassette toilet. So your cassette will indicate in the washroom when it's ready to be emptied. And then to empty the cassette, all you need to do is lift the orange handle, slide the cassette out of the motorhome. You can either carry it or you can drag it to your waste disposal point, which is normally beside your toilet block on site. And then to empty, remove the cover, press the orange button at the back when pouring the content of the cassette out, tip it out. Once you've tipped it out, put some water in and give it a rinse and tip out again. Then you'd go in with a cap full, which is 120 ml of liquid, green or blue, into here, and it's good to go back into the motorhome and be used. And when it clicks back into place, it's in position. Behind the back wheel you have your wastewater drain. Again, it is an electronic dump via the control panel, which is just down here. So this is any water that you've drained off via a plug hole, so shower water, dishes water, hand basin water, or anything else. Normally on the way out of your site, you'd pull over the grid and the floor, get the van as close to it as possible, press the button for that to start draining off, because you don't want to be driving around with wastewater, because there's no real need to drive around with the wastewater. It's going to add a lot of weight to the van that's not needed, which will then impact your fuel and your payload. Here you have your back garage area, so underneath your rear lounge, so you've got your carpets, your on and winding handle and your tethering point, so you can tie your loads down by using these loops. On the back of the van you've got your high level brake lights, twin lens reverse camera, so you've got one rear view, one reverse, so one will look down the back of the van when you put the van into reverse, and one will look the far distance when you're driving forwards. Fuel bike rack, that just pulls down. You can adjust these to any length that your bikes are. Chock the wheels and then pop these round the crossbars, and then you would put some sort of bike lock around the bike frames and the bike rack just to stop the bikes from being stolen if the van was left unattended. Below you've got a tow bar with 13-pin electrics if you plan on towing, and you've got your sensors on the back there. Same access to the small garage area underneath the U-shaped lounge. An external 230-volt power source point. So should you be hooked up and you want power on this side of the motorhome, or you put an awning on and you want power in there, plug your extension or your item that you want in power. As long as you're hooked up, you'll have power. Fridge vents, awning light, and your fuel omnister awning, which we can show you on collection because it's a little bit windy today. This is your external gas point. So this uses a bottle on board the vehicle instead of carrying a spare one, and you'd use the quick release connector, which is on the other side of the van in that locker. Release this cap off here like that, pop the connector in and it'll pop into place, turn the tap on and it will supply the barbecue or your Cadillac with gas from the main bottle. All the heating systems, that's just a flue, so that gives an idea of where the boiler is on board the vehicle. It's underneath the kitchen cabinet. LPG locker, so this is your liquid petroleum gas, so this is where your gas bottles live. And you can fit 2 bottles in here, so you can fit 2 13-kilogram bottles in there. We've got our 6-kilogram gas bottle just to test and show you appliances working on this video on at the moment. So to connect the bottle, what you need to do is you hand tighten your pigtail, which is this pipe here, until it gets so tight, and then you'll need to get yourself an adjustable wrench or a gas spanner like we have here, and then you want to tighten it, and it's left to tighten, right to loosen, so opposites with it being gas. Nip that up, turn the gas supply on and press the black button. So there's a black stopper on the pigtail which is known as a crash valve, and it'll allow the gas through the pipe and into the motorhome. Then you do have a crash valve on the regulator, so just make sure that this yellow button's always pushed in and never popped out. If it's popped out, then the gas won't come through it to the appliance in the motorhome, so you'll need to push it in and hold it for 5 seconds to reset. And then you do have straps, so you've got one at the top, one at the bottom. Make sure that you put your straps on your gas bottles, top and bottom. I've just got the top one on there at the moment, but make sure that you do put the top and bottom on before you start travelling with the motorhome, and you turn the gas supply off at the top of the bottle before you do start driving. It's a lot safer for everyone on the road if your gas is turned off. Here you have your diesel filler. So your diesel filler's at the passenger door and opens with the main ignition key, and then underneath you've got an AdBlue. So it's an AdBlue additive for your catalytic converter, which cleans it out at a certain temperature, and it's a 19-litre tank on a Fiat. When it does need AdBlue, it'll come up between the temperature and fuel gauge with a little exhaust light. Looks like a gust of wind light, and all it's telling you is that the light is on, telling you that the limits come on of 1500 mile. So you've used 4000 mile. You've now got 1500 mile left in the AdBlue range. Go to a petrol station, you can buy it on the pumps, it's about 150 a litre, or you can buy it on the drums. I think a 10-litre drum's about £20, just to fill that up. And then you've got, from a full 19 litres, 5,500 mile. Your tyre pressures are here, so 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi. Your tool kit for the jacket and a brace is underneath this seat here. This just pops off, turn this buckle and this will slide out. And your main engine battery lives underneath this compartment in the floor in the cab. So should you ever want to put a charger on or change that battery, you've got to get it through the cab. Bonnet release is on the side of the dashboard though. And here you've got all your fluids, so you've got your screen wash, which is the main one you're going to need, which is in this side above the driver's headlight. 3 tabs, the covers lift off, and you've got your power steering fluid, your coolant and your brake fluid. Followed by your oil and your oil filler. Paint codes on this chrome sticker here. Weight plate is on here, so you can go off that. 6 ton train weight, 4250 gross vehicle weight. This is an earthing point for giving or receiving a jump start, as the battery's underneath the cab floor. And then between the air filter, which is this here, and the passenger headlight, this cover you'd lift up by putting your key in or a screwdriver, and this is your positive point for giving or receiving a jump start. So above the habitation door, when you come into the motorhome, you have your Swift control panel. So by pressing the Swift logo here, this is your master switch. So this will turn the motorhome on and off. So it'll kill all power or put the power on when you come in. When you're hooked up, you'll notice you're hooked up because you'll get this little light here saying it's charging, and then you'll see the battery status of the leisure battery and the vehicle battery. You'll also see the internal and external temperature along the top with the time and the date. Starting from the left hand side to the right hand side, you've got your pump here, so you can turn your pump on and off, which you'll need to have your pump on to work your taps, toilet and shower. But make sure you do have enough water on board, which I'll show you how to check going through this panel. Here you do have your awning light, so that's just a light on the outside of the motorhome, which you can turn on and off here. You've got your lighting, which are dimmable by going up and down, plus and minus. And then you've got switches all around the van to turn your lights on and off. You've got your power, so you can view the battery status of the leisure and the vehicle battery. Obviously, when we are hooked up, you'll always get a false reading with the leisure battery, so take the hook out and it will show where the battery is currently sitting at and what amperage is currently coming off the leisure battery. Note that your solar panel does go to sleep as well when you're hooked up, because your hookup is your bigger voltage. Take the hookup out and you will get the solar panel will kick back in and charge your leisure battery. And the battery selected always wants to be the leisure battery. If that's saying vehicle battery, just change it to leisure, as the leisure battery is designed to work the motorhome side, the caravan side of the vehicle. You don't want the vehicle battery running all your lights because you may flatten it. Your water, so you can view your fresh and your waste water. So you can see there we've got 25% of fresh on, that'll go all the way up to 100% and 0 waste. And along the bottom you've got tank heaters, so you can turn your tank heaters on if you're away in the winter and it's going to drop below freezing overnight. That'll stop the water in the tanks bolted to the chassis underneath the motorhome from freezing. You've got level alerts, so you can turn that on, so when it gets so low the panel will start beeping just to let you know that your fresh water is low and it's time to refill as a safety feature, but you can turn that on and off. You've got frost alerts, so when the panel notices that the temperature's dropped, again it'll beep on telling you to turn your tank heaters on or drain your vehicle off. And then you do have empty your fresh and empty your waste, so you can just press these electronic dumps. You'd empty your fresh if you've taken on contaminated water, or you drain it down for the winter where you want to leave no water within the motorhome, and you'd empty your waste before you leave your site. and in the winter to stop the water from freezing if the vehicle's not being used. We've got heating here, so you can choose your heating, but I'll not complicate it. We'll do the heating through the Aldi panel. And you've got your fridge, you can do your fridge through here, but I'll show you how to operate the fridge by itself. It's exactly the same on the fridge as it is on the control panel. Also above the habitation door, you've got your Aldi panel. So this is your heating and hot water. So to turn this panel on and off, you press the left hand button. It'll go through its cycle, and then you'll get this screen here. So this will show all the time, and it's telling you that at the moment the temperature inside the van is 26.5 degrees. You hooked up, and that's the inside temperature. If you go to the menu, there's a picture of a thermometer in a house. This is how hot you want the inside of your motorhome to be. So at the moment we haven't got the heating on, we've got it to 5 degrees. But you can turn it all the way up to 30 degrees by just pressing and holding the plus or the minus, and that'll start heating the vehicle to the temperature that you've selected. Underneath you've got the picture of a shower head. This is hot water. So should you have no water on board, or you don't want hot water, you'd have it so that the bar is completely blank. If you want the hot water and the heating to run together, just have it on half a bar. That means that it's not on boost. The hot water and the heating are going to work together, whereas if you have it on full bar, it's on boost, and it's going to turn the heating off of the vehicle and prioritise the hot water first. Underneath you've got a picture of an electric mark. So if you were on a site, you'd use electric to heat your vehicle and your water, because you've paid your site fees. Why would you want to waste your gas? So you can either have it on 1 kilowatt, which is 750 watts. You can have it on 2 kilowatts, which is 1500 watts, or you can have it on 3 kilowatts. Check with your site what they want you to run, because it all depends on the ampage they give you. Normally on 16 amp you can use 2 or sometimes 3 kilowatts. Sometimes if you're on 12 amp you may have to only use 1 kilowatt. And if you're going to take it abroad, sometimes the sites abroad are a bit stingent with the electric, so you may have to use 1 kilowatt. If you're wild camping though, you can use the gas. So make sure you've turned your gas bottle on, and all you need to do is push the gas flame here till it goes green, and that'll use the gas to heat your water or your vehicle. And again, you can use the gas and electric together should you be away and it's really cold and you don't want to sit in a cold motorhome. Gas and electric together on 2 kilowatts in gas, you'll probably have a warm motorhome within 10 minutes. Once you've got the van up to temperature, turn the gas off and allow the electric to continue to heat the motorhome. You can also go into settings, so should you ever get a problem with it, saying it's overheating or anything like that, or it's faulted for any reason, you can go into settings and scroll all the way down and you can reset your system. Sometimes you may just have to do this because it's glitched from time to time, but that's how you would do it. And then you turn your panel back on and select your temperature, your water and your energy source that you want your water or your vehicle to heat off. So to operate your electric drop down bed, first of all you need to take your safety seatbelt off, and then you can use the switch beside the door. So turn the key, then you can use the switch to bring the bed down. You can just stop it wherever you want, because obviously underneath does make up as a bed as well. And then the ladder is in half, that clips on there. You've got safety nets if you're putting children in there. As you can see, they clip at the front and they clip at the back as well. And you've got a light in the corner just here. Just remember, when you are winterizing the van, it's good practice just to drop the bed slightly down, take your duvets off there, leave nothing on, so just circulate the air within the motorhome round the mattress so that you don't get any mildew on the mattress. So in the kitchen area, on the hob, you've got 3 gas, 1 electric hot plate. which will only work when you're hooked up, and that's the far dial here on the left hand side. The other gas ones, so there you can see that your gas is lit. Allow these to cool down fully, as well as the electric hot plate if you've been using it, until that they're cool enough to touch before you put the glass lid down. And always make sure that this glass lid is fully back, because if it's not, it'll cut off the valve for the gas supply to these hobs as a safety feature. Underneath you've got your grill, and underneath your grill you've got your oven. You may want to take your oven shelves and grill pan out when travelling, as they can make a little bit of noise when on the road, or wrap them up in tea towels. This is your mains isolation supply for your electric hot plate, so if there's any trouble with that, you can isolate that by pulling the plug, and that'll stop this dial from coming on. Microwave is an 800 watt microwave, which will only work when you are hooked up to mains. And in here you've got the plug for your microwave, the same as your hot plate. Should you need to isolate it, you can. You've got a cup rack and a plate rack. These can be lifted out, they're just screwed down with 2 screws if you do want rid of them, to put your own storage solution in there for your plates and your crockery. As long as the pump's on, you'll get your hot water, making sure your hot water's been on first. And as you can see there, the steam's coming off the water. That is very hot water. Two 230 volt plugs there for a kettle and a toaster, and then you've got the light underneath the counter here, which is individually switched. So in the large cupboard in the kitchen area, you've got your draining board and some storage above, but if you remove this panel here, just lift the wooden fascia board off, underneath there you do have your Aldi boiler. So your Aldi boiler does 2 jobs. It obviously supplies the heat to the radiator system through the pipes for your heating, and it also heats the water. So what you need to do is, in the winter, you need to drain off the water content in your boiler. So your boiler holds 10 litres at a time. So what you'll need to do is, there's a little valve here, little yellow valve, and you need to lift that up. Lifting that up and putting it into the up position, so it's currently lying like that. If you stand it up on end, it'll drain off the 10 litres directly out underneath the chassis. You would do the boiler, you do the fresh water tank, you do the wastewater tank, and then you'd leave all the taps throughout the motorhome in the open position to stop any water from lining any pipelines around the van. This will stop any water from potentially freezing, and the vehicle will be fully winterized. When you're ready to reuse the van, if you close your boiler, shut your fresh, shut your waste, shut your taps, fill the vehicle with cold water via a hose pipe from outside, you can then come in, put your control panel on, put your pump on, go to the cold side of the tap first. You'll get a pressurized flow of cold water straight away. Once you've got a pressurized flow of cold water, start to go slowly to the hot. It'll start to cough and splutter and make all sorts of noises, because it's now bringing the water from the main tank underneath the van into this tank here, which is your boiler, 10 litres, until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. And once it's a pressurized flow, it's full, one tap's done, do the rest of them, and then your system is primed for the season. But remember, drain it off, and to drain it off, little yellow toggle, stand it up, because otherwise it's not covered under warranty, and it's a very expensive mistake to make with an Aldi boiler. You've also got 3 gas isolation taps here, and you can tell off what colour is which on this sticker on the door. In the wardrobe area, you've got your freestanding table, you've got your TV aerial. So if you're struggling for a signal, what you need to do is loosen this nut off here, lift the telescopic arm for the aerial up above the roof and use the toggle to direct the aerial, and look where your other motorhomes and caravans are pointing on your site. And then before you travel off, you just want to bring the aerial in, make sure it's tight and secure so that the wind doesn't damage your TV aerial. And at the back you've got a TV booster so you can min and max the amplifier should you still be struggling for a signal. If it is on max and it is still pixelating, try knocking it down a few, just so that it gives you more of a static picture instead of being pixelated all the time. Here you've got your antifreeze liquid, so your expansion tank for your Aldi heating system. So as you can see there, as it's bubbling above a min and a max line, so you always want to run the system up before you top the antifreeze up. So you might think, oh, it's a bit low. Always run it up first before you top it up. And there's 5 different liquids recommended by Aldi that you can use as antifreeze to top this system up. So you look on the Aldi website or in the Aldi handbook supplied with the vehicle, and you can top it up via here. Each liquid lasts 5 years, so every 5 years you are recommended by Aldi to change the whole system, just so that the antifreeze doesn't start clogging the pump up and damaging any parts inside this tank after 5 years. Inside the washroom you've got a separate shower area. So remember, when you winterize it and you drain your boiler off, it's always best that you unscrew your shower head from the hose and lie this hose down in the shower tray to stop the pipe coiling like it is now, and any water sitting in there and potentially freezing and breaking this pipe with the mixer tap left open. Remember to tie your shower screens back on the top and on the side before you travel. It will just stop them from banging around when you're on the road. Your bathroom light is in here. Some storage in the toiletry cabinet there, as well as some storage underneath the sink. Your radiator in here with a towel rail holder, some more towel rail holders and a toilet roll holder. But to operate your Thetford toilet, what you've got to do is you can adjust the toilet as it swivels round. Make sure the pump's on and press the blue button. The blue button will give you fresh water flush from your main tank. Put a small amount of water in at the toilet first, which will help lubricate the seal between the toilet and the cassette. And then before you use it, there's a grey lever on the toilet. If you slide that to the right, it'll open the blade and everything will go into the cassette. Then what you can do is you can give it a good flush after use, and then once you've finished with it, close it back to the left. When the toilet indicates it's full, which it will with 3 green lights underneath the diagram of the cassette, it's then time to lift the cassette out the side of the van, empty it, rinse it out and replenish it with chemical. You're not going to get the cassette out if the blade is left in the open position like this. It needs to be shut, so that's why I say get into a habit of flushing, opening, using, flushing and closing the grey lever, which will then mean when the cassette indicates it's full, you can start it straight out the side of the van and take it and empty the cassette. So to make the bed underneath, first of all you need to take the table off there by lifting it to 90 degrees and pressing the button on the leg, which folds the leg up, and then you'd lift the 2 cushions and slide the table in the middle. Place one of the backrests onto here, and there's a small little cushion which goes in the back of it, because obviously it's cut out to go on here. So put the small infill cushion in the back, then use this infill cushion, and that creates the space here. And then all you need to do is lift and slide this one out. There is a leg on it, so put the leg out as well. Backrest drops in, infill cushion into the back, and then there's this thin long infill cushion which you can slide in here, and that forms your double bed across the width of the van. So you can either sleep width or you can use it like that. It's entirely up to you, but that's how it would go. Remember that your cushions do pin on here, so just be careful when pulling them off. You have to be careful and then lift the back of the pinned velcro area off here to get the cushions free to move them where you need to. So underneath your side bench seat, just behind the passenger seat, if you take your cushions off, you'll get access to your power supply unit, which is a Sergeant unit, which is an EC600 unit. So on the stickers at the back, it gives you all the list of the 12 volt fuses, so do carry some spares, the ratings and what they do, which are all in here, listed 1 to 13. And then you've got this side 3 MCBs and a main trip tester. So should you be struggling for power and you want to eliminate that it's not the motorhome, try and test and trip the van out. If the van doesn't trip out, it's not the motorhome, it's the site. You've also got your leisure battery in here, so there's your leisure battery with your main 30 amp breaker fuse there. So you may want to just carry one of them just in case. You'll probably never use it, but just for the safe side of carrying one. And your leisure battery is in this concealed battery box here.